Welcome into another Q&A, our questions and alcohol video cast. We have a fun one this week where we're actually going beyond Kentucky, very far beyond Kentucky if you think about it. We have John Chappell, CEO of PaQui. Did I say that right?
Yes.
PaQui Tequila. John, I appreciate you taking some time to talk about your tequila company and a very cool campaign that I think you have going on these days.
I'm glad to do it, Jonathan.
Now, I know, this is a newer tequila. I think it's been around a couple of years now. But before we talk about it, can you tell a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with tequila?
Sure. Well, I've been in alcoholic beverage marketing my whole career. I started in spirits on Stolichnaya vodka, a few decades ago, spent a lot of time in the beer business, a little bit in the wine business, and eventually decided I would create a luxury tequila brand. And it basically happened when I met the person who turned out to be my partner, Javier Martinex. And he's a Mexican living in LA, a guy with all the connections to the tequila world in terms of production and other areas. And I had the marketing background. So it sort of made sense for us to do this. And we took that leap to do something that's quite challenging. And, because it's one thing to create a brand, it's another thing to build it and make it successful. So.
Well, and then I was going to say, you mentioned that you met Javier and were able to build this brand, but is that, I'm guessing there were a few more steps involved to launching PaQui Tequila, because it's great to have the connections and so forth, but as anyone that listens to this podcast or any of the podcasts that I do knows, the spirits world is not easy to break into with everything that's involved with it.
Yeah, no, there were several steps. I've worked for several companies that where we were able to do some fairly sophisticated marketing. So when, I basically insisted, with my involvement that we would create a brand based on consumer insight. And that meant talking to the trade a little bit, but a lot to tequila drinkers. And we actually did that process, with some very, very smart people who have worked on frankly, the biggest brands in the world. And, that doesn't always work, but I do believe it worked this time. It's fairly easy to find out what you need to know, but then there's the stage where you have to create. And creativity is not particularly predictable. But we did a number of months of research before we did any creativity about naming or the brand itself, the packaging and so on. And we did the brand, and then we turned to the liquid. So lots of steps, nothing easy, but it was an intense, laborious, expensive process, but I think it yielded a really nice brand.
Well, and the name too, we were talking a little bit beforehand when I was trying to figure out if I was saying it right, which is a 50-50 chance with me these days. I love the name, and how did you guys settle upon that, and what does it mean?
Well, we had a team in this research process, a team of people doing the research itself. It was focus group, sophisticated sort of focus group type research. And then there was a branding company, once again, a significant company that I knew well, that done a lot of big, difficult projects. And basically what we learned in the research is that tequila is the most Mexican of anything from Mexico to a tequila drinker. So we focused on that. the other thing we learned is that there's this sort of wild joy in tequila, this edgy fun. There's no single sense of adventure. The best phrase we have for it is dangerous fun. So, people have their tequila stories where they did something that they would rather forget, that, they went outside their normal, parameters of behavior. And, some people never go back. Other people, hey, it's fine, just drink a little less next time. But that fun and so on, that yielded that name from the branding company. PaQui is a legitimate word in the language that they spoke in Mexico before the Spaniards arrived. And it's still spoken, by poor, people, but it's what the Aztecs spoke. And PaQui means to be happy. In fact, there's a dictionary of that language, and I checked, and PaQui, to be happy. So it fits because people drink tequila with that fun and sociability in mind. So it is a really good name. Of course, you have to let people know, what it means, and you need money for that, of course. But
no, but I love the name, and I kind of love the dangerously fun part of it too, because it is, everyone has a story, whether they want to share it or not, or stories, so to speak. Another thing that you talk about having fun. I feel like you're having some fun with this campaign too, the Celebrity Spokesperson Re-Education Program, because as people know, it seems like every day another celebrity either is back in a spirits company or pitching a spirits company. And why did you decide to go about that?
Well, it's a little bit tongue in cheek and fun, but we sort of felt someone had to step up and question basically the authenticity and reason for being for these celebrity tequilas. And, they don't come at, spirits or tequila in particular with, the same level of expertise that someone who's spent decades in alcoholic beverages, would. And, we just don't really understand why drinkers would support those brands if they're looking for, something distinctive and high quality. It's not, we're not trying to say that those are awful brands, but, why would you, would you trust a celebrity to make a car, or to make a phone, or that it's a little more complicated in terms of technology, of course, but it sort of applies. So we're just really questioning why those brands exist. Some of it, I believe, that celebrities, though they already have a big brand, they want to build their own brand even further. Some of them are probably interested in a financial return, of course. But, we don't believe that these brands are that authentic. We don't believe that they have this great reason for being, except that, the fame of that celebrity. And, I'll come right out and say it, they're vanity projects. They're they may be serious about it, but we're poking fun at it and trying to raise awareness of that. So,
Well, I like it, and there are some that are probably very well versed with what they've come, whether in the creation or whatnot. Others, like you said, they might just be attaching a name for a couple dollars. Nothing wrong with that either. Now, I'm curious: has anyone ever taken you up on the offer yet?
Well, we've just started this, so it's quite a process to get this campaign going. Did you saw the video that we did, or that I did? We are running that now. We're with paid electronic media. We're sending it out to people like you and to, publications and media outlets all over the country. No one has taken us up on it yet, and it's sort of it's somewhat doubtful that they will. But if they do, we will love it. We will we will cooperate, and we will publicize it, of course. Part of this is trying to get people aware of PaQui. But as I said, earlier about the brand, the name is an Aztec word meaning to be happy. Everything else on the brand is pure Mexican. It's shaped like the bottle is shaped like an Aztec temple. The circle reminds people of the Aztec calendar. There's an Aztec warrior symbol. So everything here is based on deep cultural archetypes of Mexico, actually pre-Hispanic, Mexico. And, the celebrity tequilas come from Mexico, so they're authentic in that way, but they're not crafted like this. And when we get around to talking about the liquid, I'll draw some comparisons, to, or at least be upfront about what we did. And it's very doubtful celebrity tequilas, did what we did in terms of trying to create a very unique liquid that offers a really delightful drinking experience.
Yeah, for those that don't know, if it's called tequila and it says it on the bottle, it has to come from one very specific region in Mexico.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's kind of fair game in that region. What makes PaQui different from those other tequila brands? Because obviously you're a little higher price point, but as you mentioned at the beginning, you're more of a luxury brand. You're in that 40 to 60 range, depending on what type of liquids in the bottle. What makes you guys different than the others? Just off the get-go.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons I decided to take the leap into this, because it's incredibly challenging and expensive, and it's not a totally rational thing to do, honestly.
But it's fun, right?
Well, it's often fun and often harrowing, but I was really puzzled by the liquids, the big brands, and puzzled is a euphemism. I was like, why are people spending $50 for, and I'm talking about the biggest brands at this price point, which would be, I'll name two of them, but well, I'll name three of them, but Patron, Don Julio Casamigos, celebrity tequila. And I'm a wine drinker, so I said, wow, at $50, I can almost always, I'm not sure it's ever happened to me that I haven't gotten a wine that had nice aroma, fruit, complexity, and a good finish. None of the tequilas that I just mentioned have those qualities. So I came at it from a point of view, there must be a way to create a much better drinking experience, where you're drinking at cool room temperature, in a snifter or a tequila glass. So you're getting aroma that you're sipping, and that you're getting those things, nice aroma, fruit, complexity, and a soft finish. And I didn't know how to do that, but one of the people on our team, Gilberto Jasso, the master distiller we were using, it was so interesting. Javier Martinex brought him on. I asked him, why are these big tequila brands somewhat mediocre, or at least not to my taste? And Gilberto didn't answer the question. He gave me a clue, which is incredibly more fun. But what he said was that the raw ingredient, which is blue agave Weber, it's by law, you have to use this agave to make tequila. He told me that there were 600 different aroma and flavor compounds identified in the blue agave Weber by a computer called that's named a gas spectrometer. It's what big companies, like if you were at PepsiCo, my late wife worked in PepsiCo, there was a room of 50 of them. They analyze, tastes and aromas. So I thought about that for a while. I wasn't smart enough to come right back at him, but I went, wow, something's being lost in the process. So I tasked Gilberto to create a tequila liquid that had the best of those aromas and flavors palpable at the end of the process. And it took him 3 months to do that. I think 3 trials, and I was like, wow, we're done. And basically I challenged him and he met the challenge. And that is one of the most rewarding things about the project so far, because distilling is pretty technical. It's science. So they don't teach people like me to be distillers. You have to go to school for a few years to really learn that and the science behind it. But this guy rose to the challenge, and with PaQui, we have something that you can sip the silver. We call it Silvera. You can sip it and and enjoy it. And I wouldn't sip those big brands. I can't do it. So.
Well, and you kind of touched on it with him taking a different approach. It became kind of a selective distillation where it kind of removes some of that harshness and burn, which I'm sure made that a lot more enjoyable.
Right, but everybody is doing selective distillation. I will be clear about that. Basically, what they're doing is discarding the head and tails of the distillation and keeping the heart. What we're doing differently is going further, and we're actually separating the heart of the distillation, and we're removing these really nasty substances called congeners and fusel oils. And another Gilberto story, he surprised me when I went down there to watch him make this stuff. So he says, stick your hand in this and tell me what you think. He probably did it by pantomime, because my Spanish and his English don't work too well together. So I did that. And I smelled and, I tasted it, and I got mad at him. I was like, he was like, it was like a car that had been driven 30,000 miles, and you change the oil and you dip your finger in it and you taste it, which you would never do. But he laughed at me and he said, John, we're taking that out of PaQui. And then he said, those are in every other tequila, that substances, those 2 substances that you tasted. And then I realized why I didn't like those big brands, because that stuff is in there. And what it does is it hides the aroma, the good parts of the aroma. It hides the fruit, the complexity, and it, that's what gives you the burn when you swallow. Now, there's a reason not many brands do this, and I really can't tell you how many do it, but you lose 10, 15, maybe even as much as 20%, but 10 to 15 is a solid number of the yield, because you're going to another process where you're reducing the yield by taking those congeners and fusel oils out. So it does mess with your your profitability or your gross margin, but it makes all the difference, in the world. And, that's why, PaQui gets really nice reviews. We got a 94 rating from a Wine Enthusiast, which is a very credible reviewer. But that's why it's it's a really pleasant drinking experience. And I've done so many tastings and selling sell-ins to people, and they're so surprised to taste a tequila that's soft and fruity and complex and has a nice aroma. That's a big difference. There is a silver tequila at about twice this price level, a sizable brand called Clase Azul, and their silver is not their main focus, but it's good, and I believe they're doing this with that brand. But I'm not gonna, you're not gonna tell me, I don't think, and I don't know them personally. But it's not common to do this because of the cost penalty. So,
well, and it seems to be working out for you. I mean, you get that the big acclaim, some awards from it. I mean, obviously that's a reassurance. What's it been like working with Javier and Gilberto? Because one, finding the connections in Mexico are not always easy. I had one person tell me one time they just started going down the Google train, and once they got to like .mx and some different numbers were popping up, they were making phone calls to find agave. But to have Javier have those connections, and then have someone like Gilberto that could take your idea and actually make it happen. I mean, that has to be something that made this process a lot better.
Yes. Javier, basically, it's very true to say that PaQui was created by two Mexicans and a gringo. I'm the gringo. It wouldn't have happened without Javier and Gilberto. For various reasons, just having a deeper background in alcoholic beverage marketing, not specifically tequila. I sort of took the lead in both the packaging and the liquid. But yes, it definitely a collaboration, and I would not have done this without those connections. And so I would understand that it's difficult to do that. Gilberto is really talented in terms of master distill, being a distiller, and but he also knows that I know what PaQui is supposed to taste like, so he knows that not to approve a batch without it being meeting that that profile. And we don't own the distillery that we use, so we do have to be really careful, taste every batch. And but I do trust that guy. He's sort of the most down to earth, rock solid, trustworthy Mexican I've ever worked with. So.
Well, and then you guys have 3 different releases. You're in several states and available online, and the majority. What's next for y'all in 2022, and what are you hopeful for?
Well, we have a lot of work to do in terms of building awareness, and getting the word out about PaQui. We have a lot of new states to get into. We have new wholesalers in the Northeast, Peachy in 5 states, getting another one, I hope, very soon through Peachy. And significantly, we have the big wholesaler in Florida, Southern Glaciers. And so we should see some nice growth from that. But this brand building process is complicated and big and challenging. And I will be honest, the most challenging part of it is the capital requirements, because you just need a lot of capital. And that's probably what our success will hinge upon is whether we can convince enough investors to put in the kind of money to build, the awareness that we need. Basically spending a lot in digital advertising. But part of that celebrity campaign is to just get noticed and draw a distinction between a brand like PaQui and a celebrity tequila, and but to do it in sort of a fun way. And we're not interested in denigrating any celebrity, but we're just say, hey, we're different. So
hey, nothing wrong with that. And the liquid's a little different in a good way. And
yeah,
I think with what you guys have got started and what's in those bottles, definitely gonna hopefully make this journey a long road and a fun road at that. And John, I appreciate you taking time to talk about PaQui and a little bit of fun that you're having over there.
oh yeah, no, you got to have fun since it's tequila and spirits and so on. Thank you so much, Jonathan. It was a pleasure.